really would love to tie this one in with the overall theme for this URZ in this episode because it brings out so much, I guess you could say, the subject matter, the entire thesis, if you will, on what not only this past year, but the years in which we are coming into has shown itself to be as an overarching theme. So with this article, which we reference here from the Independent Media News Network, or I guess you can say the newspaper, so on and so forth, it comes usually out of the UK, and certain things that, are multimedia faceted and usually keeping up with certain current politics and geopolitics, socioeconomics, so on and so forth, many facets of life as can be covered. We come to this article, of course, by a Samuel Osborne, dated December 26, 2017. And the topic which we intend to get into was many of the meetings within the forum, all of the reports that came out of the last UN General Assembly out there at the United Nations. But, if ones haven't heard up until this point, the article that we're referencing here is U.S. Ambassador hails $285 million cut in funding for the United Nations, or the UN, as a, quote, big step in the right direction, unquote. Samuel Osborne subscripts this as, we will no longer let the generosity of the American people be taken advantage of or remain unchecked, unquote. The U.S. Ambassador to the UN, Nikki Haley. And this article really gets into much of what the ambassador, Nikki Haley, had exclaimed and mostly prepared and disseminated there at the UN as per U.S. policy going forward in this particular time. Now, as we have seen, it has unraveled throughout the year, and we definitely have, taken it in stride and really tried to disseminate as much information and share as much as we could with a little bit of commentary for certain ones so that they at least could get a snapshot, at least get a first word or get the bullet point on certain subjects so ones could actually do the research for themselves and see how it would pertain to them and, of course, their lives and those around them in that sense. And it has been interesting, just to say the least. But even so, with this current news coming here from the UN and U.S. policy showing itself forward, and this all pertaining, of course, to the not so far in the past time here that, of course, the new administration had sought to make sure that they announced that the U.S., of course, would be recognizing Jerusalem as capital of the state of Israel with the move of the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. We definitely seek to connect all of these, not just into one basket, but to give the framework of how not only this year has played out, but the administration here on these shores, as well as those who are in collaboration and those, of course, being affected by it. So getting into this article again by Samuel Osborne, it reads as such: the United States government has claimed to have negotiated a significant cut to the United Nations budget. The U.S. mission to the UN said the 2018-2019 budget would be slashed by over $285 million, 213 million euros in the, of course, exchange. And reductions would also be made to the UN's management and support functions. But the announcement did not make clear what effect the budget reduction will have on the U.S. contribution. Nikki Haley, the U.S. ambassador to the UN, said inefficiency and overspending of the organization is well known. We will no longer let the generosity of the American people be taken advantage of or remain unchecked, she said. This historic reduction in spending, in addition to many other moves toward a more efficient and accountable UN, is a big step in the right direction. While we are pleased with the results of this year's budget negotiations, you can be sure we'll continue to look at ways to increase the UN's efficiency while protecting our interests. It comes after Donald Trump threatened to cut off aid to any country in the UN that voted against his decision to recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel. Quote, let them vote against us, unquote, the U.S. president said. We'll save a lot. We don't care. Ms. Haley sent letters to over 180 countries warning them Washington would be taking the names of those who voted against the U.S. The UN General Assembly went on to vote overwhelmingly to denounce Mr. Trump's decision. The non-binding resolution declaring the U.S. decision on Jerusalem null and void and was approved 128 to 9. It reaffirmed what has been the UN's stand on the divided holy city since 1967. Jerusalem's final status must be decided in direct negotiations between Israel and the Palestinians. The Trump administration made it clear the vote would have no effect on its plans to move the U.S. Embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And that ends our reading of this particular article here from the independent company there in the United Kingdom by a one Samuel Osborne. Interesting, just to say the least, our brothers and sisters, for ones kind of have a framework of the happenings that probably are still running on the news and media outlets as we speak. But just, a tidbit to give one's a peek behind the curtain on what's actually been going on, not only on the surface, but beneath the surface as far as that is concerned. And paying attention a lot more to the policies which have been put in place and how these politics are being played out. One should definitely, take a deeper look into a lot of what we have seen here just so far. And again, just referencing this and seeing how certain things have played out up until this point, find connections not only within international politics as far as that is concerned, but of course I don't seek to delve too much into this. We hope to save a little bit of reason and time, especially with our brethren, just to, kind of not only clear the air, but, kind of get a handle on certain things. Therefore, at least, the final 30 minutes of our podcast here. So just to prepare our brother here on the dashboard, with that, I just give so much thanks, of course, as always, for his labor of love. But, just a shout-out to the eye for, that particular reason to come here at the, initial last 30 minutes or so within the grace period, just to reason a bit on a few of the topics which we, of course, to bring forward.